line out my window so I can see my fish pond.
Aw.
So I had it built specifically so I can look right out the window and see the fish pond.
It's nice
So-
to have you. That's great.
I like having
Yeah.
I have clearly lost control of the day. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm so glad that you could be here. Today, we're really bringing the romance back to the bag lunch at your desk. So we've got Elizabeth Johns, Cheryl Bolen, and the captain of the ship, Kathryn Le Veque, is with us today. Everybody's got releases this week, and I'm going to get out of the way and let the ladies talk because it's it's been great so far. So Kathryn's release was Black Storm. The storm has arrived. It's a Durain domination book, and that came out earlier this week. Elizabeth's book is Dangerous Nights. It's book 6 in the Gentleman Knight series. And Cheryl's book is Lady Mary's Dangerous Encounter, and that's the first book in the Beresford Adventures. I'm excited about all of them. So, ladies, I don't know who wants to start to just tell us a little bit about your books, and then I'm going to
start because then I'm going to get out of the way and let them talk about theirs. I'm just going to talk real quickly. And I just noticed that, we all have our names on our screens, and I'm the only one with like not a last name, like I'm Madonna or something. So the next time I'll make sure my last name is in here. It's very strange. Anyway, The Black Storm was actually a book I wrote probably 30 years ago. So I had certain chapters that and they were hard copies that had survived, and what I had to do was what I've done before is forensic writing, and you kind of fill in those gaps, which is really hard because you got to get back into this book that you wrote 30 years ago, and authors will tell you that's really hard because it's like, oh man, how did I what did this say? But fortunately I put it together and made a nice release out of it, and I'm really excited about it. It's a book that's been meaning to come out for quite some time, but it's basically a snapshot of a tournament. And it was really fun writing about some of the details of tournaments because they were, interestingly enough, they were not really regulated too much. So you had some different rules for different places and stuff, but it was a lot of fun. And I hope readers are enjoying it. So I'm going to leave it at that because I feel like I need to hear Cheryl and Elizabeth talk about their books. So I'm going to pass it on to Cheryl.
Well, thank you very much. I'm real excited about when Dragonblade had come to me and asked me if I would be interested in writing for them. And so I decided I would do a new series. So this is a brand new series that just came out on the first book on Tuesday. And I've been publishing for a quarter of a century in all Regency. But in the recent years, my writing has kind of migrated from your typical Regency to something different, which my husband thinks I've created a genre, which I really haven't. But they're light Regency mysteries is basically what I've been doing for the past several years. And I don't like the dark stuff, so that's just not me. But so they're lighthearted, and so this is the first one of the Beresford Adventures, and the heroine is a Beresford. And I had a Beresford introduced in an earlier series of mine, and this is a very impetuous gal who decides she's going to race off across Europe to see her sister in Vienna, and her brother, of course, doesn't want her to go, so she just goes. Her brother is an earl, and he is laid up with a broken leg, so he can't chase after her. So he has a friend who is the Duke's son, who's a diplomat, who's going to the Congress of Vienna. So he asks his friend to look out after his sister. Well, it's different things transpire during the journey, and he doesn't catch up with her till into the journey. In the meantime, she's befriending an elderly lady, and then the old elderly lady goes missing, and everybody denies her existence. And then when he meets up with her, it's like she thinks the whole world is against her. And then this hero walks in and he's on her side. But of course, she doesn't know him, and she doesn't know that her brother sent him, and he's not telling her that. So it transpires from there, and there's danger, there's threats on her life, and he's her protector. And if this sounds familiar to you, it's because I stole the plot from a Hitchcock movie called The Lady Vanishes. So, So it's inspired. It was inspired. Of course, The Lady Vanishes all takes place on a train, and there were no trains in Regency, England. So I had to devise something that would be, enclosed. So they're snowed in at an alpine resort. So that's where it ends up. And of course, to protect her, he's got to move her into his room.
Well, of course.
That is enough about that book, but it is the first book of the series, and I'm really excited to be with Dragonblade and excited to have the rest of the books published in this series. Just 3 books at this time.
Right. Well, I loved when the tagline for that one came through, and it was her companions disappeared, and he's the only man who believes she existed.
Oh,
I thought that was such a great setup for the book. Elizabeth, you had a dangerous night. Oh, I'm sorry, Kathryn.
No. I was just going to say, it's really interesting to touch on what Cheryl mentioned, how really old movies can inspire new stories, because I'm a huge fan of pre-code and 1930s Hollywood. And some of those movies are really original, and they have inspired a couple of books with me because it's just super original stories, back in a time when storytelling like that was in its infancy. So that's really cool that you did that.
thank you. I'm not as creative as a lot of writers are, and I do get plots from movies a lot of times.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Elizabeth, it's Dangerous Nights for you this week, and that released yesterday.
Correct. Yes, it's the 6th book in the series. She talked about extending series. I had originally done 5 of a family, and so coming up with 3 more that were related to the Knights, but they weren't actually of the original family themselves. So I picked one of my favorite side characters because I like humor. Those are always the easiest books for me to write, the ones that are funny. So I picked the funny character and created the Dangerous Knight out of that. So I think it's a lot of fun. He's an officer for Wellington. He spies, and he was a carefree bachelor. And then he has to go back to England for the victory celebrations in Hyde Park. And he finds out he's saddled with a ward and an estate that he doesn't want. So a mystery kind of happens and evolves in the story, and she helped him. She's actually the key to solving it. So
a surprise ward in an estate is kind of a good deal.
Kind of, except it wasn't in good shape. So he didn't want it. He didn't. His granny was a nasty old lady, so he wasn't interested in it. So, but yeah, I'm with Cheryl. Plotting can be the hard part. Once I have the plot, it's really easy to run away with the story. But sometimes just getting started and jumping off that cliff is the hard part.
Yeah. Well, in your series you're on book 6 now, and Cheryl's just starting hers. Do you have an idea when you start the series? I know you said you had to add the 3 books with the side characters. Do you have in your head kind of an idea of where the whole series is going to go? I know Kathryn's series go on and on and on
forever.
It's like I have a hard time keeping track of.
You do, yeah.
Do you have a whole wall, Kathryn, of all your characters?
Oh man, seriously, look back here, and you'll see like notebooks, and those are where I keep it all. Big notebooks and stuff. So yeah, I have to.
Yeah.
I wish I were a spreadsheet maven, because that would help so much if I knew how to do spreadsheets. Because I'm like you, mine are all in notebooks.
Yep. That's old school. It really is. But that's how, I'm a visual thinker. So for me, it's easier that way.
Yeah, I definitely, I don't plan out probably like I should, but I definitely, the way I very first began, I wrote the first book and I didn't really think beyond that. And then people started emailing, asking for other people's stories. And I thought, oh, well, so now that I've been doing it a little while, I kind of try to think ahead and who might be, but usually the side characters take on a life of their own. And I don't necessarily intend for them to have a story, but I think this is a good.
That's really something I stress to new authors, because they'll come to me and they'll say, okay, I've got a 3-book series. This is it. and they like close it. You know, it's a closed end. And I said, don't do that, because if it takes off, you know, you're going to have to feed the readers, and because they're really going to want more of that series. So I appreciate the way you think, because you're thinking long term. And I think with a series, you really have to, number one, assume it's going to be successful. And number two, think on the long term, just in case. So.
Have any of you ever worked yourselves into a corner where you ended up with a character that popped up that you didn't expect to pop up, or somebody that bumped somebody else out of the way because another story needed to be told instead?
Often.
Yep. I actually, my biggest series is the Wolf Pack, and there were 6 sons, and one of them died in Wales, and everybody kept saying, "Oh, I want to see him. I want to read about him." So I had to have him resurrected and come back.
Zombie.
I brought a zombie back. I had like zombie to wolf. So, you know, I had to like logically think about how he could have, you know, died and disappeared and then come back again. And that actually has turned out to be one of my most successful books, which is kind of funny. Yeah. So, yeah, never say never. Everybody comes back.
Hard. The ones you do after the fact, they're really hard to me, because then you have to fact check everything and make sure you didn't screw anything up.
No, very hard.
Cool now.
Well, I will tell you.
Read all the books too. When you're adding the series, you have to go back and read all the earlier books.
You do.
It's a lot of work. It is.
Well, I just screwed up something really bad, and I'm going to admit this, but I'm not going to tell anybody what it was. But I had a secondary character who I now was making a primary character, and I'd written about him in 3 different books, and it turns out I gave him 3 different families because I didn't read the other books. I was just like, how am I going to do this? Oh, Lord.
It's like the pregnancies that last forever and the babies that disappear.
Yeah. Sometimes when you talk to the editors, they talk about stuff like that. They're like, she was pregnant for 11 months and then she never had the baby. It's like, oops. I don't know how that works.
Have you ever had readers call you out on it? Catch you in a mistake that you didn't know about yourself?
On occasion. It's rare that, thank God, it's rare that I may not remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, but I do remember, you know, my series and my families and my family trees. So it's rare, but every once in a while, somebody who's very, very meticulous, and we all have those meticulous readers, will say, hey, didn't his brother die in such and such? And here he is in this other book. And you're like, well, yeah, you only thought he died. It was a mistake. And now he's back secretly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Never admit you screwed up. Just keep going.
You know, this zombie character thing is a whole different kind of ad targeting I hadn't considered before.
I know. I should have told you that. Yeah, I should have told you that. Zombie Nights. It's great. Yeah.
So I had a book that Kensington published, and then I was going to do a sequel to it, but then I quit writing for Kensington. So later on, they asked me to come and write for Love Inspired Historical. So I took this sequel, and Love Inspired Historical published it, and the editor there was uncomfortable with the age gap between my heroine and the hero, because it was a May-December romance. And so she made me change the heroine's age. Well, the readers kept finding, she was 19 in that book. She's supposed to be 21 in this book. Why is she 29? And they thought it was me, you know. And I guess it really was me, but I couldn't go back and change the earlier book. I didn't even have the rights to it at that time. So, you know, it's really, the readers will catch that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I think sometimes they get into your books more than you did when you wrote them. I mean, they really, which is exactly what you want.
Yeah. I know as a reader, I do that. And I'll find things in authors where there are inconsistencies. And I find it as a reader. I don't find it in my own work because I never remember mine after I've done it.
No, it's true. It's true.
So for those of you who are writing longer running series, are the characters real people to you? Do you get attached to them the same way you get attached to people you know?
Yep. Yep, absolutely. You know, and it's kind of like I give birth to them, you know, I'm their mother. I know these people, you know, and there's no other way to describe it because you know them so well. And especially, I mean, my Wolfpack series is 23 books, I think, at this point, because it's father and sons and grandsons and all that. so you really get to know this family. And I'm writing about him right now, and I'm writing about something really incredibly dire. And I've sobbed my way through books when I write them, and I'm sure you can all relate to that. You write about somebody dying or being sick or something, and it's just like, oh God, this is so sad. It's very real.
I killed a character once, and I didn't write the next day. And my husband at the time said, "Why aren't you out there?" I said, "Because I have to tell his kids that he's dead, and I don't want to."
It's true. It's true.
Yes.
I was writing a scene between two old knights, and one of them was dying of basically what we know as COPD right now. He just wasn't functioning well, and I'm just just copious tears. And my husband goes, "What is wrong with you?" And I said, "Oh God, he's dying." And he goes, "You murderer!" And he walks away. And I'm just like, oh.
Not the kind of sympathy you're looking for.
No.
I had the same thing. I left it in suspense whether he died. Actually, everybody thought my character died. And so many people emailed me and said, "I can't finish the book. I can't believe you didn't." I guess even my family reads my books, and oh my goodness, my sister called me so upset. It happens.
Well, I had one time where I had a 3-book contract with Kensington, and then they came back and they wanted me to do another book. I had no other family members. I had just written myself into a corner. So I killed off this guy's wife and had him marry she died in childbed in the prologue to the new book. And then I had him, get a new wife was my next book. My readers, they were so upset that I killed her.
You took their happily ever after away.
Yeah, I've given them the happily ever after, and everybody loves her. And I will never do that again. Never. But I'm not.
The pitchforks and the torches come out.
Oh, exactly. And I'll never write myself into that kind of a corner again with a series. But this was almost 20 years ago, and their series weren't as big as they are now.
Yeah. Cheryl, that's an interesting point that you've touched on, because you've been doing this a really long time. So what are the other big trends that you've seen since you started to now?
When I joined RWA in 93, and I was not published yet. And I started going to conferences, and they would bring in editors, and they would look, what are they looking for? Well, that was just shortly after Diana Gabaldon's Outlander had come out. I think it came out maybe in 91. And every single editor at that time says, "We want paranormal. We want time travel. Give us the time travel." And and then we also had a lot of editors that were looking for the old traditional regencies. And now you can't hardly sell a time travel now. And the old traditional regencies, the only people who are publishing them are self-published now. So things come and go. Then you have the erotica come in, and I think it's kind of waning a little bit now too.
Yeah, I agree.
It has some diehard fans. It's so cyclical. I mean, it's just really cyclical. Do y'all know Jo Beverly was a beloved Regency writer, and I can remember about 20 years ago her saying, "I do not want to be crushed under the weight of the popularity of my genre," and really now, and she was really early when she said that, because then all of the New York publishers, they quit publishing medievals, they quit publishing Westerns, and all they wanted were Regencies, and it's still pretty much that way. Scots, if it's Scotland or Regency, and that's about all they're publishing. Well, we're going to get crushed under the popularity of our genre. So, but and true, how many storylines can you keep coming up with?
Well, it's interesting from a small press's perspective, because you're absolutely right. As a publisher, you have to publish what readers are looking for. That's how you make your money. But Dragonblade right now, we just signed a historical mysteries author. We've got some Scottish authors coming up. We've got time travel. So we're diversifying as much as we can to kind of hopefully find some readers for that. But you're absolutely right. It's tough. I mean, Regency's king. It just is. So.
As a reader, I love that though, because I can always find something that fits my mood in the moment. So
True.
It
True.
might be a challenge for authors, but as readers, I think it's one of the very best times because there's lots and lots and lots of content. So
There is.
Funny because it's such a short period of time.
Yeah, it really is, right? We're not talking like 400-year spread here. We're talking like just a
years.
snapshot. Yeah.
no, just the changes in the last 10 years have been huge.
Yep.
Call from unavailable.
Hello.
Spam.
This is Cheryl's house. Hello.
Running. So we talked a little bit about long running series and things. Can you talk a little bit about your inspiration and the things that you get really excited about? Is it, Kathryn, I know you said you had to research tournaments for this recent one. Is it the manners, the clothes, the food? What is it that catches you and holds your interest?
For medieval, just in general?
Just in general.
Yeah. I've had people ask me that. And I think for me, it's, well, first of all, I started off reading Virginia Henley back in the 90s, which really, and Bertrice Small, which just opened up these worlds, and they wrote in such free ways. And I know, I'm not sure how to describe that. Bertrice Small wrote about harems and, just these exotic worlds and things that we really, nowadays, I don't think we could get away with writing. But medieval in general for me has always been such a transitional phase in the history of mankind because we're coming out of the Dark Ages and we're coming into a more civilized, era. And it's such a time of hit and misses of savagery and beauty. And I think that there's such a wildness to it that I just really, really enjoy.
Yeah, that makes sense. That kind of rawness, and then the chivalry and the rules of conduct and things,
Well, yeah, and the start of modern government started with Simon de Montfort, So there's seeds here that, yeah, exactly. So there's seeds in medieval times that just continue to this day, and I just find that really fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. What about for your Regency authors? Is there something in particular that catches you?
For me, just the escape into another world that is so different from ours. There were gentlemen and the chivalry and the rules. It's just really fascinating to me, the dress, the mannerisms. So I think just getting away from the way things are today is what's kind of nice as a reader and as a writer.
Yeah, I'm all about a good escape right now.
Well, I got hooked on Georgia Hare books, and that's what, and just that whole. And I don't write about the common man. I want to write about, lords and dukes and stuff like that. Everybody wants that escape. Everybody wants the dashing duke. My husband should be looking at all of this. That was my maids want to see if they did a good job yesterday. But I like the idea. I mean, everybody wants to get away and pretend. And what better way than to have been born into nobility in Regency times and
Cheryl, turn your devices off.
Popular woman.
But if they don't get me there, they're there. Okay, but I'm glad that times aren't that way anymore because all of the property was owned by like 10% of the people, and the rest, and there's horrible poverty, and children, orphans everywhere, and horrible things. But they were insulated in the upper classes, and that was a neat way to be. That you had a gazillion servants in these palatial houses. I travel to England a lot, and my thing is stately homes, and I've been to like 50 stately homes in England, and I even wrote a book about it, but it's out of print now because it was too much trouble, keeping it updated and all that. I just love stately homes, and I've done a lot of workshops on the interiors and exteriors and blah blah blah. I just love the England. Those Chatsworth House has 300 rooms in it. It's those kinds of homes. It's just so wonderful to go see, and it's just a lifestyle which will never be duplicated, and it was never done anywhere else but the British Isles because of the way that they did their primogeniture, and a lot of other people never did it that way. So you could keep it in the families like that. But those days are gone. But at least the houses are still there. So I love to go look at them.
Now, see, for me, I go to the castles, and my husband's like, what do you find in these old, broken down walls that you love so much? It's a way of life we'll never see again. There's something beautiful and sad in that, I guess.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it until you were talking about it earlier, Kathryn, but that idea of catching a moment in time for us as a people, I've loved romance since I was a little girl, but the idea of a historical romance giving you the happily ever after and the people that you get to get attached to, but also catching that moment in our history, that moment in time that won't come again, I think is really interesting. And for all the time periods too, it would be cool to see some that are a little bit more recent as well.
Yeah.
So where do you see your series going from here? I know, Cheryl, yours is brand new. Do you have an idea of where you want the rest of the books to go?
Well, I've got the first 3 finished, and I'm very pleased. And actually, I don't have any more Beresfords, but the Duke's son, who's the hero of Lady Mary's Dangerous Encounter, he has a lot of siblings, and I could see them having stories and all. And carrying on. So that's kind of
I love those families where you get attached to the family and then follow them the whole way through. Those are some of the best. Elizabeth, your series started with families for the first 6 books, right? And then branched out.
6, 7, and 8 are side characters. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure after that. I think I just got an email about a different series this morning. So I guess.
But even with the side characters, you get to go back and see everybody, and hopefully remember the babies and the pregnancies and everything, and get to see what happens to the family as it goes along. Like getting to revisit people that you love. I like that part a lot.
I'm embarrassed to say that once I finish a book, I'd say about 80% of the characters, I forget them. Once I'm finished, I'm on the next book, and I don't remember. Now, you had asked earlier about getting attached to ones, and mm-hmm. And to me, it's not really the females as much as the males.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Me too.
So, do you have any? How do I say this tactfully? Not real life inspiration, but are there things that you put into your heroes that are things that you really are drawn to or love in real life, kind of things, characteristics they have? Everybody writes chivalrous heroes.
I do.
It's your husband and your characters.
I was trying really hard to figure out.
But and this is embarrassing because most romance readers really dig the alpha heroes. And I'm not real strong on alpha heroes. My husband's not an alpha. And I have the best husband on the planet, So I do put him in a lot of characters,
Yeah. Well, sometimes I think having a hero who sees the heroine and like sees her for who she really is one of the most compelling things. It's not that he has to be so in charge of everything, but just, having somebody actually see you is a very compelling thing.
I like a caveman. I do.
I never would have guessed. I had no idea.
I like a good caveman.
So much.
Yeah. If I modeled it after my husband, I'd have to start writing about cavemen. He's all about I mean, I think it's natural to put the qualities that you like in a man into your heroes.
Oh yeah.
So that definitely happens. But yeah, no, my husband's like a meat and potatoes and warfare.
Oh yeah.
So my books are not super like that, but I do have war though. I mean, the whole Regency centered around war. So that is definitely there.
True.
But we all gravitate to a certain era, and I have to say my very favorite era is just before the Regency, the late Georgian. I love that era. You know,
Oh yeah.
they were more decadent, really, than they are in the Regency. Probably because they learned their lessons and taught their kids.
That's true. That is very true.
Riding
So
that
I got-
in high heels.
Yeah. So I got a question for you ladies though, and this is kind of off the subject a little bit, but you know, I've had people ask me, what genre do you read? What's your favorite genre to read? It may not be the same genre you write in, or, you know, I mean, clearly you like it, but do you have a genre that you love to read that is not Regency or Georgian?
Absolutely. For me, my favorite genre, I don't know if it's a genre, but what my go-to choices at this point in my life, it changes all the time. At this point in my life, it is cozy mysteries set in England between the wars. How's that? How's that for specificity?
This is really narrow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like the historical mysteries too. I started off with a love of like Anne Perry.
See, I don't
Oh
like
yeah.
dark. I don't like dark. I like cozy.
Oh, they're just so clever. I mean, I think that's what I really admire in authors is when they put just so much suspense. It takes a lot of effort to plot that out really well. And so I really admire that. I'd love to do that one day. I like to have some suspense in my books, but she's just really
Anne Perry, yeah, she's great. I did a panel with her once. She's such a nice lady. Very, very nice lady.
Yeah. So I like that. Other than that, it's like medical journals, which are not very exciting. My other life is all COVID right now. So I love to escape into the other stuff.
Somebody's writing that blows me away is Ken Follett. I love his book.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was thinking about that when Kathryn was talking about the start of government. When he talked about the sheep and the banking, he's fantastic.
Oh yeah, he
So
is. He's amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I
those are
love
great
World
books,
War
too.
II thrillers too.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
I love Ken Follett's World War II thrillers also.
Yeah.
And the name, oh my goodness, The Key to Rebecca. Isn't that a great name? You know,
That is a great,
really good.
that is a great name.
That's another great book, Rebecca. I love that book.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
Kathryn, what do you read?
Interestingly enough, Ray Bradbury is my favorite author.
Oh,
So I read a lot of classic sci-fi.
wow.
I love it. Yeah. The Martian Chronicles is my favorite book of all time.
Mhm.
So that's always been my passion. I don't think I'm clever enough to write it, but I really do enjoy reading it.
Well, you know, that all makes sense though, because you're all master world builders within your own time periods. So it makes sense that the things that you would like to read, maybe not the same flavor, but have some of that world building and some of that craft in it.
I think somebody like Bradbury really transcends genres because he creates, like you said, these worlds, and he does it simply and he does it beautifully, but so visually when you read his words. So yes, absolutely. That's one of the things I appreciate about him.
Well, listen, we can go longer. We can stay here all afternoon. We can. It's been a delight talking to you. Is there anything else you think our readers would like to know before we sign off for the day?
We got a whole lot of good stuff coming out of Dragonblade, including Cheryl and Elizabeth. So we're very, very excited to have everyone joining in with us and reading our authors, and we got some really good stuff coming up.
I'll pop the links in the comments in case you haven't had a chance to pick up this week's book, and we'll put a post up that has all of our pre-orders with links so that you can grab them if you haven't gotten them already. I can't wait to see what else comes for the Beresfords and for the Knights and the Durain Domination, because like Durain Domination and Storm is Coming is
I know.
like that was the easiest thing to write ad copy for ever.
Yeah. The Black Storm's a coming. Yeah.
Storm's coming, you know.
Weather report. Yeah. Marketing. That's a whole nother conversation.
Oh yeah.
Ladies, it was so great to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking the time
Thank you.
the time to talk to us, and thank you everybody for joining us. Look for the books in the comment, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place.
Bye-bye. Great seeing you.
Thank you.
Bye.